Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankara Acharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Puranaanamayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste once again to all of you. So after completing the second chapter, which is Vyashti Vichara, we are now entering one of the, in fact, in some ways, the most interesting chapter of Tattva Bodha, which is understanding what this entire creation is about. Because this quest for understanding the creation is the basis of all science. Human beings, mankind, this scientific thought started from this curiosity to know what this entire universe is about. And man, people after people, they started, each element, they started the examining and then coming to certain conclusions through scientific methods. And in fact, our Shastras have done this exercise thousands or maybe even millions of years ago. Because they were all created right at the beginning of the creation, and we don't know when the creation began. So this is called Samashti Vichara, analysis of the cosmos. That is what this is called, this chapter. We saw Vyashti, analysis of the individual. Now this is in analysis of the total. That was microcosm, this is macrocosm. That is what it is. Okay. So this is called Samashti Vichara or Srishti Vichara. Srishti means creation. So what the author now does at the beginning of this chapter, he starts Ata Chaturvimshati Tattva Utpatti Prakaram Vakshyamaha. This is what he starts telling the students. Atha means hereafter. Hereafter means what? After completing the first two chapters, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti and Vyashti Vichara. Hereafter, Atha Chaturvimshati Tattva Utpatti Prakaram. Tattva Utpatti means elements. Elements and elementals, you can put both of them together. Utpatti means creation, origination. Prakaram means the mechanism or the methodology, right? The mode of creation. Of what? Chaturvimshati Tattvam, the 24 elements and elementals. So, in modern science, we call this cosmology. This entire, trying to figure out what this creation, what this universe is about. And in Vedic teaching, it is called Srishti Vichara. So, Utpatti Prakara, the method of, the creation, how this creation happened, refers to the cosmology of Chaturvimshati Tattva. So the entire cosmos is technically in the scriptures called Chaturvimshati. Chaturvimshati means 24. It's a number. Chaturvimshati is a number in Sanskrit. 24. Okay. And what the scriptures do is they divide this entire universe into 24 basic principles. And scripture says that is what is creation is all about. Scientists, they have got their own methods, they divide, this world into elements like aluminium, barium, etc., carbon, all that kind of a thing. They do that. But Vedanta divides this entire cosmos, as I said, into 24 basic principles. What these 24 principles are all will be explained later, right? So at this time, at this point in time, all that we need to understand is that this Chaturvimshati Tattvam is equal to Prapanchaha or Jagat, what we call the whole universe, cosmos, as you can call it. So Chaturvimshati Tattva Utpattihi means Prapancha Utpattihi, Jagat Utpattihi, creation of this entire universe. And he says Vakshyamaha means we shall now tell or we shall now teach. Now you see, this is a very interesting aspect. I think somebody asked me this question right to one of the beginning classes. I think it was Lata Vijay. Is she there today? Or Ranjani? I don't remember. Somebody had asked this question, that why it is said Vakshyamaha, because this is an individual teacher teaching and it should be in singular. But here, earlier also we saw that it was plural was used, and here also plural is used, Vakshyamaha. Okay. Vayam Vakshyamaha, plural is used. Because in Shastra, when in the teaching of Shastras, no individual teacher claims that this is my teaching. Every teacher is conveying the teaching which he has received through so many, the whole lineage of teachers. So nobody can claim that this is my idea, this is my product and all that. What I am teaching you is what I got from Pujya Swamiji and his disciples who were my teachers. And what they taught me is what they got from their teachers. So whenever we refer to any teaching, we always refer to as plural, because we bear it in our mind that this is a teaching. I am only a representative of an entire lineage of teachers. That is why in Shastras you will find always plural is used. They will never say Vakshyami, will say Vakshyamaha. Right? Bhagavan Krishna uses singular in Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because he is the Adi teacher, from where he was the first one to teach. So that's an interesting aside rather. Okay. So what the author wants to indicate here is that in his teaching, whatever he is going to say, he has the backing of the entire Guru Parampara. That is what he is indicating by this word Vakshyamaha. Okay. So in order to identify this teaching with the Guru Parampara, and by that process he is reminding himself and thanking all his gurus for making him eligible to share this knowledge which he has got from his gurus. See, such beautiful ideas and all only we can find in our Shastras. Otherwise, this materialistic world, I am the doer, I am this, I am that, nobody is like me. This is what? Even if we are caught by a traffic cop on the road, I'm talking about India, traffic cop on the road, with the question many people will ask you, do you know who I am? He must be the son of some, some big shot, some minister's son, some or MLA's son or some businessman's son. So that I business, Shastra, these are all ways and means how we can reduce our ego. Always be thankful to all people who have contributed in your life for what you are today. Nobody on their own can be what they are. Right from the parents, in fact, right from the plants, food, we have got, as we saw in the Annamaya Kosha, even this entire, plants and herbs and all, we should be thankful to them because of the food they have given only. Our parents ate those food and all this, they got this power of reproduction and we were born. So the contribution of the plants is there. And in the production of food, contribution of rains are there, water. So if you just think like that, how many things this entire cosmos is involved in what we are today. Even after we were born, our parents, if our parents had not taken due care of us in the first few months of our life, we would not be existing. This body-mind complex would have gone. Doctors who helped our parents. So you can just, separately you go on thinking, and anybody says, I am a self-made man, there is nothing called a self-made man. Nobody is self-made. Everybody is made by a lot of contribution from many people. This, if we keep on remembering, automatically we will be progressing in our spiritual journey, because spiritual journey is all about acknowledging the totality, acknowledging the contributions of everybody in our life. That is what spirituality is all about. And when we do that, our ego gets slowly, I sense, that gets, neutralized little by little. So that is why this Vakshyamaha is a very important thing in Vedanta. Okay. So after saying that, the author says, Brahmashraya Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. He is now defining what is Maya. Starting, see, it is the beauty. In the Vyashti Vichara, he wanted to describe what is Atma. But he started with Anatma. Then came to Atma. Here also, he wants to eventually tell us what is Brahman. But before that, he wants to tell what is Maya. Because what is Anatma at the individual level is Maya at the total level, at the level of the macrocosm. So he starts with definition, explaining what Maya is. So he says that, he starts explaining by saying that at the time of the origination of the universe, whenever it was, nobody knows when the universe originated. But obviously, some origination must have been there. Sometimes it should have been there. It is said Anadi, so it's actually beginningless times rather. From a scientific point of view, let us say before the Big Bang, right? That's what scientifics think, that the Big Bang happened and the universe, evolved rather. So before the origin of this universe, which we can perceive now, this entire universe, all these planets, stars, everything, you can drive your imagination to the utmost, the corner of this universe. telescope, all that, use everything, whatever you can perceive, study, even mathematically derive the existence of things. That's also existing, that is also in the universe. Because there are many aspects of the universe you cannot observe, but mathematically you can derive and establish their existence. So anything before all this happened, before this thing all came into being, there were two primal factors which were responsible for this. They were the very cause of this universe. Just to have an analogy, like in a family, there is a father and mother, two factors. They are the very cause of the children. Unless these two get together, no child will be born. But don't tell me now test tube babies are all be born and all that. But even there also, even test tube babies also, the role of the father, mother will be there, isn't it? So, just as children have parents, the universe also has got parents in the form of two basic principles. The first principle is called Brahman. Brahman, ending with N, Brahman. We have to be very careful. And Brahman is another name for what we saw as Atma. At the individual level, it is called Atma. At the total level, the same principle is called Brahman. That is how we have to, note. So what was Atma? We defined Atma as invisible, immortal, inner essence of every individual. We also defined Atma as Satchidananda Swarupa. What is this Brahman? Brahman is the invisible, immortal, inner essence of everything in this universe. And that Brahman is also Satchidananda Swarupa only. You see how the connection is now slowly happening in terms of the nature of an individual and nature of this universe. The basic principle for the individual or the universe is the same Satchidananda Swarupa. Okay. So basically what we are referring to is the consciousness, which we saw in detail when we discussed about Atma, about consciousness and all that. So that same consciousness pervades this entire universe, that pervades every individual also. Because you see, one may ask, how can you have two names for the same thing? Many people will ask. But that is not something very strange. A person can be called a father at home, but he will be called a CEO in the office. It's the same person. Nothing is different. Maybe he wears some, some jacket, tie and all that when he goes to the office. That's all. Otherwise, it's the same person. He is father at home, or brother, a son in his family, CEO at home. It's the very same person can have different roles, different names, person remaining the same. Similarly, we can also have Brahman and Atma. Only thing we have to understand, whenever we say Atma, what are we referring to? Whenever we say Brahman, what we are referring to? But behind that understanding is there is no difference between this, what we call Atma and what we call Brahman. This understanding should be firmly there in our mind. Okay. Actually, another example is there when we, the example of space. When we say room space, pot space, is there something called pot space or room space and all? Space is one. It is space, which is there everywhere. Everything exists in that space only, isn't it? If I am sitting here, I am occupying a certain space as an individual out of the total space. So space is one, but I go say this is my space. These days people say, no, the secret of a good relationship between husband and wife is they should give each other space for themselves. I don't know what space they are talking about. Maybe they refer to independence, or everybody likes to be independent. Everybody likes to do what they want to do in their life instead of being told by others that you do this, you don't do that. That is what they mean by space, I think. But space as such also is one entity, which we divide into room space, kitchen space, what is that, chair space and all that kind of a thing. Because you first see whether there is a space in a place, then only you sit, isn't it? If the space is occupied by something else, you cannot sit there. So like that, is another example. So all that we have to understand is that Brahman is there, Atma is there. Brahman and Atma is one and the same. Two names are there, one from a macro perspective, another from a micro perspective. So the same consciousness is Brahman. It's the same consciousness. We call it Atma also. Okay. That is what we have said. So we can, for convenience sake, we can call it Father Brahman and all that. Okay. Because Father Brahman will be useful for us to understand what is Maya. So this Father Brahman, being a bachelor, he is totally powerless. He can't do anything on his own. He is akarta. So if he has to do this creation, he requires a partner, isn't it? That's why young boys get married. They need a partner, which is the most important part of creation of this entire universe. And that partner is Maya. Now, we must not misunderstand. Brahman is male and Maya is female and all. Because Brahman, the word Brahman itself is neutral gender. So you can't say Brahman is male. All that we must understand, keep in our mind, is they are principles of creation. Brahman is a principle. What is that principle? Sachidananda principle. The principle of existence. The principle of consciousness. The principle of limitlessness. That is the principle Brahman. That is what we should keep in mind. For sake of explanation, we can say father, mother and all. That does not mean any attribution of any gender to either Brahman or to Maya. We must be very clear about this. Okay. Because as we have already studied, this entire creation existed in the seed form before this creation came. Well, what is creation? Is nothing but going from manifest to unmanifest and from unmanifest to manifest. That is what is creation is all about. Okay. So there has got to be some seed from which this creation has actually come. And that seed is as we call avyaktaha, means unmanifest. The whole creation is there in the seed, just like the whole tree, a huge mango tree or a huge banyan tree is there in what? In that small seed. It is there in unmanifest form. That is why when we sow the seed in the soil, and give it the right environment for it to sprout and grow, the whole tree comes from that seed only. For hundreds of years, the tree may be growing, all coming from that seed, that tiny seed. Similarly, this entire universe, before the origination within inverted commas, it was in a seed form. And that seed is what is called Maya. Without that seed, this Brahman could not have done anything with this creation at all. So, Avyakta Swarupa is Maya. That is how we have to understand. Maya is not some entity or some magic or anything like that. Even though the word Maya, because the very process of a huge structure sprouting from a small tiny seed is like magic only, isn't it? What do the magicians do? They do that only. From some small thing, they will produce so many things out of that. One kerchief he will be having, in his pocket, and he will just remove it and make it a big bouquet. And then the bouquet, he will put it aside, and then another kerchief, he will take it out, and that will be something else. One hat will be there. Out of this, he will go on taking so many things. All magic, Maya only. So, Shastra looks at this entire universe as nothing but Maya. Maya literally in Sanskrit means magic. That is the approach of the Shastra. And in fact, there is a very, very deep meaning in that. What the Shastra wants to tell us is that, like in the magic show, whatever you see and experience and believe it to be true at that point in time when you are sitting in the magic show, but in fact, there is no reality to what all the magician is doing. He is just showing you certain things to make you believe they are real. Similarly, this entire prapancha, this entire cosmos also appears to be real only when for our perception. In essence, it has no reality. This is what the Shastra wants to tell us finally, right? But if we tell us, we will close the Shastra book and say to hell with it. I don't buy this argument at all. And in fact, many people do it also. In fact, one of the persons whom I have taught Tattva Bodha, he was telling me, I could never ever have imagined the creation the way this Tattva Bodha describes. Can it all be true? What is the guarantee this is true? I told him, you have gone through one problem is there with you. You have no Shraddha in the Shastra. So I cannot answer that question. Right? You go to a doctor and ask him, are you a good doctor? What will he say? He will say, why have you come to me? Isn't it? You go to anybody assuming that he's a good doctor. Otherwise, you will never go. If 10 people tell you don't go to him, you go to him. He's a gateway for heaven. Will you ever go to that doctor? You will never go. So if you ask a doctor, are you a good doctor? Is the stupidest question one can ask. It is because you must, when you go to a doctor, you must have some Shraddha in the doctor that he knows his stuff. Whatever he does with my body, whatever he is going to treat me, whatever medicines he give me, he is going to give it only for my betterment. Unless we have this Shraddha, there is no point in going to a doctor. Similarly, when you come to Shastra, you must actually have the Shraddha to accept what the Shastra is saying on the face of it. I'm not saying that you must blindly accept, but that acceptance is necessary if you want to go deep into it and then analyze it. If at the beginning itself you are dismissing that this is all not nonsense and this is not possible and all, then okay, fine. Shastra has not called you, come here, come here. You have come to Shastra, isn't it? Shastra is like, may I help you counter in, we have in railway station and banks and airports and all. The fellow sitting there will not call everybody, come here, I will tell you where your flight is going. And people go to the counter. Similarly, if people come to the Shastra, when you come to the Shastra, come with folded hands. Learn what the Shastra is going to tell you. Spend all your time, your intellect, capability. So, anything that is created requires a seed. Some seed should be there. Okay. Without a seed, even a plant will not appear. And the law of conservation of energy and matter says that nothing can be created out of nothing. Isn't it? So it follows that even the universe cannot come out of nothing. There must have been something for the universe to come out. So, but then in what form that would have been there? If it would have been there, then where is the question of creation? So these are all contradictory questions will come up in the mind. So what the Shastra says is that, and which science also actually, goes through this to a very large extent. In science also, we have got what we call a potential energy and a kinetic energy. So there must be something which has the potential for the universe to come out. What has got that potential? The seed which has got that potential in the case of a plant or a tree, right? So similarly, that potential form of this universe existent, which was existent before the universe came into being, is called Maya, the potential form of the universe. Seed form you can take. Okay. So Maya is the material principle for this entire universe. And Brahman is the non-material principle for the creation of the universe. Both are required. In Shastric terms, it is said, Brahman is the nimitta karanam and Maya is the upadana karanam. Of course, I don't want to get into that. When we go for higher levels, we will get into all this nimitta karana, upadana karanam and all that. Vivarta upadana karanam and all that. There are so many terminologies are there. So what we have to understand is that Maya is the potential for this universe. Brahman is the efficient cause. Maya is the material cause. Brahman is the efficient cause of this universe. And this Maya is called by different names, Prakriti, Pradhanam. Different philosophies refer to this Maya with different terminologies. That's all. Shaktihi, Avyaktam, Avyakritam. So many, there are so many terminologies are there for this Maya. And the question is, okay, Maya is the potential from. Where did Maya originate? From where did Maya originate? Can be a question. And just like, seed comes from a tree. Tree comes from a seed. When was the first seed? Chicken and egg situation. Nobody can answer that question. The only logical answer is the potential existed for creation of the universe at all times, and it continues to exist at all times. Like we saw in the case of Atma or now Brahman. What is Satyam? Trikale api tishtati. It was there in the past, it is there now, it will be there in the future. It has no birth, no death. Maya is also a principle, Trikale api tishtati. Just like Brahman, Maya also has existed from beginningless times, and nobody knows what is the origin of Maya. Maya is the origin of everything, but nobody knows what is the origin of Maya. Similarly, from where the Brahman came, nobody knows. There is this cosmos, this whole cosmos is there because of Brahman. Why? Whenever we say cosmos is existing, that word is, and we use existing, that existence is that Brahman, that principle of existence. We should not imagine Brahman is some entity and all that, sitting somewhere. No, principle. That's why Vedanta doesn't, go into people's mind, because they cannot visualize. They always want to visualize something, some entity, objectify everything. You can't objectify Brahman because he has no Rupam, no Gunam, nothing. How can you objectify something which doesn't have a form, which doesn't have any attributes, which doesn't have anything, but it is existing? Why? Well, that is existence is its nature. This is just like, it's a very, very difficult to absorb this concept. That's why Vedanta, many people find it very difficult to understand. And when you tell them, when you are saying I am, that am is that Brahman, they can't relate it to that. So anyhow, we will see all those things as we go along. So we can say that this Maya is representing the universal mother within inverted commas. So Brahman, universal father, Maya, universal mother. That's all. I mean, only from a point of view of just understanding that, or making it a little bit interesting, symbolic. That's all. Okay. Now, whenever we say Brahman, 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 we must understand one thing. Because in our scriptures, Brahmaji is said to be the creator, the four-headed Brahma. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the Trinity. Out of that Brahmaji is said to be the creator. That is what the Puranas say, Brahmaji created this entire world. So whenever we are saying Brahman created this whole world, we must never confuse Brahman with Brahma. Brahmaji is masculine. Brahma. Brahman is neutral gender. And in order to differentiate, what normally teachers do is they put a G before Brahma, after Brahma. So Brahmaji means the four-headed Brahmaji, who is the instrument through which this creation came into being. And Brahman is the principle. This is the difference we must understand. So Brahmaji is a personal God, whereas Brahman is a principle of consciousness, existence, and limitlessness. So that we must understand, So we can normally put one small a, Brahman, and then long a, Brahma, Brahmaji. Okay, we can say that. So let us now come back to Brahman and Maya and understand the relationship between the two. As we have seen, consciousness, which is Brahman, has got an independent existence. It is not dependent on anything for its existence. So that is why we saw it is called Satyam, right? And we have had good discussions on this. And there, what all attributes we actually applied to anatmas. The 11 anatma we saw. What are the attributes? Hearing, sense organs, organs of action, all these attributes for this anatma, 11 anatmas we gave. Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, all these things, all those set of attributes we can attribute to Maya. Maya, that is at the total level, it is called Maya. At the individual level, it is called Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira or Anatma. Atma, Anatma, Brahman, Maya. This is Atma is equal to Brahman, Anatma is equal to Maya. That is the equation. We have to understand. So, Maya is a matter principle. It does not have independent existence. Primarily, all matter is insentient, jadam, as they call it in Sanskrit. They have no existence. It is only because of consciousness that this jadam becomes sentient. Some jadams become sentient, not all of them. Even though the consciousness pervades rocks, but rocks don't become sentient. The same consciousness pervades our motor car, motorcycle and all, but they don't become sentient. If they become sentient, they will go on their own. You go out and see there won't be any car. Why what happened? That car has gone for a ride on its own. One way it is good, they are not sentient. Similarly, mountains and all, if they are sentient, they will keep moving. The mountaineering people, they will climb Himalaya in Nepal, and then finally when they come down, they will be somewhere in Europe, because Himalaya would have moved to Europe rather. So, this is what we have to understand. Maya is a jadam principle. Jadam. No sentiency. The entire sentiency which Maya gets is from Brahman. That is how we have to understand. So, Brahman is Satyam, the sentience, the consciousness principle, and Maya is the inert principle, non-sentient principle. And when Brahman pervades this Maya, all items, all entities in this Maya who have the capability to reflect that light of Brahman, they become sentient. So we are all, as we speak, are all part of Maya. This body, mind, sense complex is nothing but Maya. I am able to speak because that Brahman consciousness is pervading my body, mind, sense complex, gives me sentiency. I am able to shake my hands, speak, breathe, see, hear. All this I am able to do because of the consciousness. Without that consciousness, I will not even be able to sit. I will be only lying down. There won't be I. The I itself will not be there rather, without consciousness. So that is why the author says, Brahma Ashraya Maya. Ashraya means dependent. Maya is depending on Brahman for its own existence. So that is why Brahma Ashraya Maya. So don't go back to this, example of father, mother, and all that, because then you will say, oh, that do you mean that why mother is dependent on father and all that? I don't want to get into those kind of a thing. Just told you as a symbolic kind of a explanation. Don't get into that. And see, as I told you, Brahman is neutral gender, so it cannot be masculine. Maya also, Maya, of course, is feminine in Sanskrit rather. It's a female. So, but then that same principle applies only as an example, and we must not extend it beyond that. Okay. So they're all symbolic, and it's an energy principle. Maya is an energy principle. Then the author further describes the characteristics of Maya. Brahman, what we say, such chit ananda swarupa. Now, what are the characteristics, attributes of this Maya? The author says, Sattva Rajastama Gunatmika Maya. Brahman has no attributes at all, no gunas. Maya has got 3 gunas. Sattva guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, which is called Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. We will see what these gunas are. And you will find that these three gunas is what is pervading also this entire universe. You can divide this universe in terms of three gunas. You can divide every individual in terms of these three gunas. So this Maya has got these three gunas, which guna means we can take it here as a power or a shakti. Okay, the faculties. What are these three shaktis? Sattva guna represents jnana shakti, the power of knowledge. Rajoguna represents kriya shakti, the power of action. And tamoguna represents dravya shakti. Dravya shakti means inert matter in its original form, inert matter. But this inert matter, this inertia, this tamoguna has got the power to suppress the other two powers. See, let us understand this very carefully. Among the three gunas, Sattva guna is, as I said, the power of knowledge. Rajo guna is the power of action. Tamo guna is an inert principle, inert attribute. But this inert attribute has got the power to overpower Sattva guna and Rajo guna. What is the classic example of that? Deep sleep state. When we are sleeping, we are totally overcome by tamoguna because we become totally inert. In the sense, our body, mind, sense complex becomes totally inactive. We are not inert. At that time also consciousness is there. But what happens is that sleep comes because of the tamoguna. If we don't have tamoguna in us, we will never be able to sleep. So that is why, all three gunas are very important for every individual. We are all born with predominance of tamoguna. When we are born with predominance of tamoguna. That is why babies and all, they keep on sleeping. Then what happens is slowly Rajoguna develops. When Rajoguna develops, the baby starts, crawling or, walking on its knees, trying to stand up, all action oriented. Knowledge has still, Sattva guna has still not come. In fact, it is said that Sattva guna starts developing only after about 3 to 5 years of age. And that is the reason why in our system, we used to send children to school only when they were 5 years old. Because then only the Sattva guna will develop and then the power of knowledge will develop and they will understand what is being told. So this is how the three gunas develop in our body, rather, in our existence. And that is why, I'm just taking a offside. Just, some thought came in my mind. Whenever we have divided, and I think we did discuss this when we discussed the Varnashrama Dharma. A Brahmana predominantly Sattva guna. What it represents? Anybody who has predominance of power of knowledge, studied the scriptures, has got, big scientist, Sattva guna pradhana. He is a Brahmana. So Brahmana again, not because somebody is wearing this threads and things like that and all. That is not at all a Brahmana definition. A person who is knowledgeable, who shares his knowledge with others, who has got the quest for more and more knowledge, he is a Brahmana. And that is why, Dr. Ambedkar, who is called Ambedkar, by birth he was not a Brahmana, but the caste Ambedkar is a Brahmin caste. This name was given to him by his guru, who saw the full Sattva Guna in this individual, in this person who later became to be known as Ambedkar. He was so interested, so studious boy, but born in a non-Brahmana, not Jati rather. So he said, if you become studious and you achieve, whatever, PhD, VSD and all that doctorate, this society will not accept you with your current surname. I will give you my surname, because Ambedkar is a Brahmin surname from a Jati point of view. And that is why Dr. Ambedkar, even though he belonged to a different, caste, he was able to establish himself. Even Constitution of India he wrote, participated in the Constitution of India, one of the biggest barristers. So why I'm saying all these things is, if we look around, we'll get a lot of examples of what the Shastras tell us. So that is the Brahmana, a person who has got a power of knowledge. Then when Rajoguna came, we saw two types of Rajoguna, Shuddha Rajas and Ashuddha Rajas, isn't it? The Kshatriya and Vaishya. One does lot of action, very active guy, for the sake of benefit of the society. Another fellow does all these actions for his own benefit. So these people, type of people are to be classified as Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. Tamoguna are people who serve others always. On their own, they don't have much of any activity they don't want to do. Given a chance, they will just take rest and sleep and do nothing, but sit before the TV also and just blindly keep watching. Their whole nothing will be working. So they are Tamoguna Pradhana people. So whenever we are talking about who is a Shudra, who is a Brahmin, who is a Kshatriya and all, if we keep this in mind, people in our own house who are showing this Tamoguna predominance can be called Shudras. Nothing wrong with that. Whereas a person, Jati Shudra, if he is a brilliant fellow and is a professor big professor or a scientist, call him a Brahmana, no harm, because they are all the definitions. They are not castes. Brahmana is a definition. It defines a certain qualities. That's all. Okay. I just moved away from the topic. What happens is when all these things come, it's very difficult to resist. But they are all relevant. But then sometimes it becomes repetitive, and then trying to remind what we have already seen and all that. Anyhow. So as I was saying that, all these cars and they have got this Kriya Shakti and all these things, consciousness pervading, they will all move away. So they are all inert principles. Okay. So this Brahman is a consciousness principle. Those of you who know Saundarya Lahari of Adi Shankara, anybody is there who knows Saundarya Lahari or who has learned Saundarya Lahari? You have. Premaji has. How does it start? Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum. Right? So Shiva and Shakti Yukta hai. Shiva here represents Brahman. Shakti represents Maya. So the whole universe is nothing but a combination of this principle, Brahman principle and Maya principle. That is how we have to understand this whole creation. We will see when we say 24 elements which is there. Obviously 24 elements will not be there in Brahman, because Brahman has no attributes. So all these 24 elements belong to Maya only. So when we study these 24 elements, because there is nothing to study in Brahman. Brahman is to be understood. That's all. It's just a one sentence, Sachidananda, that's it, matter over. Nothing more is there. Maya, not to study. All these 24 tattvams, from those 24 tattvams, how everything has evolved. What is the, Sukshma Sharira? We have used the word Sukshma, subtle. Then we have used Stula, which is gross. How these subtle and gross elements and elementals have all come about, we will be studying in this chapter. And all that belongs to Maya. Okay. So, as I said, Brahman is just Chaitanyam and Maya is this Trigunatmika Maya. Almost time. And whenever we talk of creation, one important aspect we have to remember is any creation involves a change. Suppose we want to create a chair out of wood. Can we retain the original form of wood and then create a chair? We can't. So the wood has to undergo a change to become a chair. Isn't it? If we want to make a table out of a chair, the chair has to undergo a change to become a table. So any change, any creation involves a change. But Brahman is changeless, we said. Consciousness is changeless. Nirvikara hai. So this entire prapancha could not have been created by Brahman alone. He has to partner with something which is changeable. It may not be destroyable. Let us understand. Because matter can neither be created nor destroyed. That is the scientific principle. Science also accepts it. But matter can be transformed. Energy can be transformed. That also science accepts. We also accept. So Maya is the transforming material of this Jagat, which gets transformed, which exists because of the being blessed by Brahman. So we require both the material cause and also the efficient cause, or what we can call it, the consciousness, for the entire Jagat to exist. Okay. So Brahman is Nirvikaram, Maya is Savikaram, subject to change. Change and evolve. So now the author explains this process of evolution one by one. What was the first element which came? From that what came, like that he explains, which we will see in the next class, because it's already almost time. Okay. I'll say the prayers, and if there are any questions, we can take. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Any doubts, any questions?
Guruji,
yeah.
Guruji, one question, please.
Yeah, can you please speak a little loud? I can't hear you.
One question. This is about Maya and Brahman. Can it be equated to Adam and Eve?
But here, there was no eating of apple.
Great.
You see, my belief, my personal belief is, whether it was Jesus Christ or somebody else, they have got some glimpse into our scriptures.
Correct.
And whatever they understood, they actually put it to match the intellectual level of the people to whom they were being told at that point in time. Because there are a lot of stories about even the Bible itself. The Bible was never given by Jesus Christ, but Bible came into being after 300 years of Jesus' crucifixion. There is something where I have read. So Bible was something, creation of a religion by some people, probably for their own protection or whatever it is, using Jesus Christ as a nimitta karan for creation of a religion. But again, all these things are all in the realm of speculation. So we don't need to get into that. But what you say is a very valid point. Adam and Eve, ultimately we are talking about two genders getting together for creation. Right? So what we have to understand is creation is a partnership. Creation is never done by an individual entity, individual principle. This is what we have to understand, whether we take any religion, our religion, we say Shiva Shaktya Yukto. When we are in the Dvaitam, we'll say Shivan, we will see as, with the Jada and the snake and Shakti means one sitting. So, but when you come to Vedanta, Shiva has got a different meaning, Shakti has got a different meaning. We don't see all those forms. We see Shiva as a principle, consciousness principle, Shakti as the Maya principle. That is all. So the Shivan form, Shakti form and all are at the Purana level. We have actually graduated to Upanishad level at the introductory stages of Upanishads. So those things are not relevant for us. Even though Adi Shankara is Adi Shankara, he created the Saundarya Lahari, so that once you know what is Shiva and Shakti, then later on you can be told that forget the Rupam, see the power, creative power, the consciousness power. Forget these forms. So that can be explained when they come to that. Anyhow, that is our Maya, our Brahman and Maya have not eaten any apple, and they are not sinners. We don't believe in this theory that we are all sinners and we must pray and we don't believe. We all believe that because of our punya we are born. We got this human birth because we have done lot of good things in our past life. That's why we got the human birth. That's what we believe. We don't believe we have sinned and all, and then a lot of papas are there. No? A totally different concept altogether. Anyhow, let us not get into that. That's not subject matter of our discussion. Any other question, please?
Thank you, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Thank you. Namaskaram. Thank you very much. So, shall I close?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Next Saturday.
Thank you, Guruji.
Take care.